Dear teacher colleagues, I'm Dr. Prem Kumar, Professor of Economics, University of Mysore. As the HRDC coordinator for this program, Dr. Lingappa Nanjan asked me to deliver the talk on research methodology. I have given the topic on how to write the research article and where and how to publish the research article. So the title that I have given, and as I have understood, this is the research methodology 1 week course, and the many topics have been covered, starting from how to choose the topic for the research, or how to choose the topic for the projects, or the writing an article, and how to conduct the survey, how to conduct a review of literature, how to use tools and techniques. Like I think yesterday Professor Lancy could have been explained to you about the descriptive and inferential statistics, how you can use. So there are many components in research methodology course. As I have got the information, it's a basic level research methodology course, so that we are not going to discuss about the higher level tools and techniques. We discussed only descriptive and inferential statistics. So, but for me, I have chosen this title, writing and publishing research article. I think this is the almost last day of your course. Am I right? I think so. This is the last day. I think, yeah. So that at the end of this research methodology course, after listening all these lectures and talks, we should be able to write on our own a research article and make it publish in a reputed journal. So at least that could have been possible for each one of you. The purpose of conducting this kind of the research methodology course is really worth and meaningful. So having said this, without making any delay, let me come down to the topic, writing and publishing research articles. Friends, as you all know, writing and publishing is mandatory for the people working in degree colleges, in the university system, in the UGC system. So you have to engage actively both in teaching as well as in research activities. And as UGC repeatedly given guidelines, we need to publish our research articles in a reputed journals, if possible in UGC Care List 1 and 2. So as we all know and you all know, writing article may be easy, but writing a good article is not that easy. It is easy when you know each and every component of the research, a best research article, a scientific research article. You should know. So what are the important components? What are the important components are in the scientific research article? What are the major characteristics, and where exactly these components have to come, and then how to make a research article an attractive one. So for making that, we should know the many things. So accordingly, in today's class, I'm in the two sessions, I'm going to discuss the most important critical issues related to writing paper and publishing paper. Both. How to, while writing, how we have to be very systematic, and how we have to publish our research article. So these are the two components. So while discussing these two things, first I will talk about what are the major outliners of a research article. That's the first part, so that we should know what exactly a best or a scientific research article will consist. That is the first part. And the second part, I'm going to discuss about steps in writing research article. Once you know what are all the things to be in a research article, then you can start writing research article. So the second part, it is the steps involved in writing research article, where we have to start, how we have to start, how we have to be proceed, how we have to complete the research article. So that is the second part. And in the third part, I will be discussing about how to publish, particularly how to publish in UGC care list, because most of the times we don't know how to go to the UGC website and how to identify the research articles, journals, which are listed under UGC care list 1 and 2. So therefore, the third part will be that. If time remains, I will take up some of the practical issues like how to determine, how to, I think already someone could have been told you about how to determine the sample size and sampling. If time permits, I will touch upon that, or how to give the reference. I think documentation already discussed, I think so. So if time permits, I will go to that sample size determination, and as Nandan Samir has told me. Okay, so let me come down to the outline of an research article. As you will know, a good research article will consist title, abstract, keywords, and there will be an introduction and review of literature, methodology, followed by results and interpretation, conclusion, and the references, and tables and graphs. These are the things a research article will consist. Let me go one by one. So first we discuss about the title. So you all know, we're all belonging to the social science group. So that in social science, generally we write the title of an article in explicit manner. Explicit manner, if you read the title of the article, one can understand what may be in the article. So what are the issues? What are the methodology? What are the problems discussed? What may be the scope of the article? So like that, you can understand the whole article, the major focus of the article, just by reading the title. That is one type of the explicit way of title. So you can see the example down: a techno-efficient green and clean energy for sustainable development in selected countries of Asia, empirical estimations. So here the title includes the topic, the issue, and the scope of the study, as well as the method of analyzing the issues. Everything is there. So this is an example of explicit kind of title. So in social science, generally we go with explicit kind of titles. And then implicit meaning, there is no idea about the subject matters or the issues. Generally in languages, in literature, they use implicit. The wall. What is this wall? Is it really wall which we have in the house or something else? We don't know. Okay, tiger. Is it tiger or something else? We don't know. So like that, just by reading the title, you cannot understand what is the subject matter or what is the issues related to that. So therefore, in social science, we always go with explicit way of writing the titles. The second important thing in the title is the issues and subject matters. Because whether a title should cover the issues discussed in the article or only go with the subject matter. So that the researcher has to, the publisher has to decide. That is another important thing. And sometimes the title should not be very so lengthy, 3-4 lines. It should not be like that. So what to include, what not to include, that's also very, very important. That's another important thing. And the fourth important thing is title and subtitle. So you can have a single title, but most of the social science journals expect.
BA matte BSc alva?
Hello? Yes. So most of the social science journals, they expect two titles. One is the main title, another one is the subtitle. So as I have given the example, here we have two titles. One is the main title, another one is the subtitles. Most of the times, subtitles explains the method of explanation or the scope of the study. Subtitles always focus on the method of analysis or scope of the research article. So therefore, we can have title as well as the subtitle. So the last one is use of special characteristics. Some people always they write India is developing ? You're questioning your own article. That is not right. So you should not question yourself. Generally in languages and literatures, they put this kind of the exclamatory sentence or the question mark, something like that. But in social science, you are not supposed to use these things. Comma, full stop, semicolon, colon. Colon you can use when you have two titles, main title and the subtitle. But you should not use slash, question mark, exclamatory sentence, comma, full stop, semicolon. These things need not be used. That's very, very particular. You should not use. So, and I have given the example of the title. And the next important thing in a research article is the abstract. What is abstract? Abstract is the gist of the paper. So what are the things you have discussed in our research article? You have to write in 7 to 8 sentences what you have done in the research article. So sometimes we may be confused. Shall we, in conferences, first they ask for the abstract and they call for the full paper. That is not the right way. Without completing your research article, you cannot write the abstract, because abstract should reflect what you have done in your research article. So how come it's possible to write the abstract? So you can write the proposal of abstract. You can write the proposal, what you are going to do in your research article, that you may write. But you cannot write about what you have identified, what methodology that you have used, what are your suggestions, that you cannot write in abstract. So abstract, it should be a reflection of your paper. So therefore, only after the completion of the research article, you can write the abstract. So what are the things to be included in the abstract? So the very first line of the abstract should tell about the major thrust of the study. Why you have chosen that topic, that issue, that subject matter. What is the contemporary relevance of that topic? That has to be highlighted in the very first sentence. That's very, very important. So that should attract your research article. Just by reading that first line, you should attract the reader for completely reading your paper. So that kind of the thrust has to be written in the first line. In the second line, you have to talk about the data and the methodology. Very briefly, what data that you are using. Primary, secondary, time series, nominal data, ordinal data, ratio scale data, cross-section, time series. What are the data that you are using? just to mention in one line, just to mention, so the data, the present study has used secondary time series data with the help of so and so techniques. Okay, methodology, that also very, the techniques what you are using, or the method of interpretation what you are following. Are you using the inductive method or the deductive method or an inferential way of analyzing the issues? What that you are going to explain using. So that has to be mentioned. Data methodology, one line or one sentence. Okay, and techniques, including techniques. If you have developed any new techniques or any new models, you can take one more extra sentence to explain that. So because that may be the new one. That may be the new one what you have developed. For example, in recent days, we are talking about the structural equation models, so which is very popular in these days, particularly in social sciences. So if you have developed a new structural equation model, which is very efficiently explaining some problems or the issues or some of the subject matters or some of the contemporary issues, you mentioned about that. The present study has developed a new model to explain so and so problem, or to explain the relationship, or to explain the impact, or explain the process. So you mentioned about that if you have developed. And major outcomes, meaning findings. So what are the findings out of your study? What you have identified? Yes, India is developing. India is developing along with increasing inequality. So the growth in India is increasing inequality, whereas the development in India is reducing inequality. Some of the key important findings what you have identified from your study, from your research work in that article, that you have to mention. And some of the challenges are the problems identified. So here the problems not what you have faced. The problems related to the subject matter. The problem related subject matter, what are the challenges in solving the inequalities? What are the problems, challenges in achieving development? What are the challenges that India is facing in increasing the value of the currency, particularly at the international level? So, and out of that, when you understand the problem, when you are understanding the challenges, so what best suggestions that you can give? What you have given in the article. So probably by understanding the problem, by analyzing the problem, we will be able to give some solutions. So you mentioned that one or two suggestions. And lastly, you write about one line concluding remarks. Why your article is so important. So the last line should be why your article is so important compared to any other articles. So that has to be written. And the keywords, the next important thing is the keywords. So the keywords in most of the reputed journals or the one in the care list, they expect you have to give the keywords. Why these keywords? It is because when the people search for some articles, your article has to come first. For example, if somebody is searching for the articles related to energy, if I given the keywords like energy, sustainable energy, clean energy, like that kind of the keywords, if I've given, definitely my article will become first. Okay, search engine always search for the most repeated words, the most common words, which are recently searched. So that is the method of searching. So therefore, you have to give the keywords in such a way that if some people searching for something, women empowerment, you have to give women empowerment. So if you are writing article, you give women empowerment, some kind of the things, gender, mainstreaming. So like that, we have to give some of the keywords, and these keywords should be related to the issues what you are discussing and the subject matter and the concepts. So this is how, or if you are using some terminologies, new terminologies. So like in econometrics, we always talk about co-integration analysis. So you give co-integration. If anybody searching an article related to co-integration, your article will come first. If somebody using searching for an article related to the analysis of using of ARDL model, autoregressive distributed lag models. If you have written ARDL, immediately your article will come first. If somebody is searching for the war model, you write about war model. So your article will come first. So like that, always you give the keywords in such a way that your article should be come first in the search. And then I come down to the main part of your research article, that is introduction. So what are the things should be included in the introduction? Some people write 2 pages of introduction, 1 pages of analysis. No, don't write like that. It should be very crispy and it should explain what you intend to explain. So here, what are the most important thing is to talk about the importance of the subject matter. Why important of subject matters? So we had inequality. Okay. In India, we have development issues. In India, we have social constraints. In India, you have the issue of inequality. In India, we have the problem of unemployment. In India, we have the social justice, injustice. In India, we have the problem of poor and the problem of poverty. In India, we always are facing the problem of shortage of investment. Then if you are writing an article about the gender or the empowerment, at this point of time, why it is important? Why it is important at this junction? That you have to write. If you are writing about, for example, if you are talking about the simple women empowerment, so the decade 2015-30 has been declared as a sustainable development. Without the empowerment of women, achieving sustainable development is impossible. You connect somehow, you connect the contemporary issue for your subject, right? So like that, if you're talking about energy, the global warming is increasing, the ice is melting, the sea level is increasing. So without having a clean, sustainable energy, achieving sustainable development is not impossible. You write like that, something contemporary important for your subject. So not simply writing important. So it should be like that. And you have to write about the status of the subject matter. So here the subject matter is very status of the subject matter. For example, if you're talking about the development of India, inequality of India, what is the development status in 1950-51 and 2022-22? So on what stage that India is there in the development process? So what is the GDP? What is the per capita income? What is the stand of the India with comparison to the world? So what is the inequality issue? What it was, what it is now? Why it is becoming more important today? Why? Because of the now you are largely talking about the crony capital. So in the concept, in the background of the crony capital, why inequality becoming more important today than before? So that status has to be written. So what is the current status of the subject that you are discussing? So and the next issues in the topic. So within that, so if you are talking about the inequality of what? Are you talking about the inequality in terms of money or in something else? So there are different types of the inequality: gender inequalities, regional inequality, wealth inequality, income inequality, employment inequality. So there are many kinds: inequality in education, inequality in health, inequality in many things. Even in the farming, even in the industry, you have inequality. So what inequality that you are talking about? So inequality among the states or the districts or the taluks or the developed and underdeveloped taluks or south and north, right? So you have to discuss the issues within the topic, what you are exactly going to talk about. So that has to come next. And while writing this introduction, talking about the importance of the subject, status, and then issues, you directly come down to writing your objectives. So I have seen in many conferences, volumes, people explicitly write objectives of the paper. Don't write like that. It is a standard research article that you are going to write. So therefore, you should not separately write objectives of the paper, objectives of the research article. No, don't write. You have to write implicitly the objectives as well as the hypothesis. How you can write objectives? The present study intend to examine the inequality exist among the Indian states. So that is the objective that you are going to do. And how can you write the hypothesis? And the study also intend to prove in India inequality among the states is increasing. Yes, finished. So you have to implicitly write objectives as well as the hypothesis. One or two, not completely right. For a research article, one objective, one hypothesis sufficient. Right? Need not to write 2, 3 objectives or 2, 3 hypotheses. One objective, one hypothesis. So implicitly you have to write. And then you have to write about the rationale and need for the present study. So, okay, you have stated objectives, hypothesis. Why you are writing this rationale? Why you are writing this paper? And then what are the usefulness of this paper? What are the applications or the implications of this paper? That they have to write in the beginning of your article, that is in the introduction. So you have to conclude your introduction explaining how this paper can solve the problem or how this paper can help the society or the literature world. And then come down to review of literature. This is the most important for always I tell my students or my friends, my colleagues. So without doing good review of literature, you cannot do good research article or you cannot do good research. It is impossible. So you have to spend, that's why we give 1 year, one complete year for PhD students to write their proposal. One complete year. And in that complete year, you have to focus only on the review of literature. Unfortunately, our students do only 50 or 60 research reviews. Some people will not do it that much. Sir, I have done only 10, sir. Why? I am not getting, sir. Why it is not getting? I can get to thousands or the lakh articles on the same topic. So related topic. So they will get, but they will not do. So if without doing the review of literature, definitely you cannot understand the issue of the research or that subject matter or the issues in that subject matters. So you cannot understand the subject matter, you cannot understand the problem, you cannot understand how to write the paper, you cannot understand the what data they have used, you cannot understand how to interpret the data, you cannot understand what techniques to be used, where I can get the data, how I can analyze, how I can conclude. You will never understand. So therefore, as much as possible, you have to allot a lot of your time for review of literature. If you want to do something good, you have to, if you want to do some good paper, first you have to spend most of your time for studying the previous work. Without studying the previous work, it is not possible to write a good article. That's my opinion. I used to sit for more than a month to write a paper, just studying the previous works, how they have done. So what is the status of research? That's also very, very important. Not only status of the subject matter or the status of the issues. So the status of the research, that's also very, very important. So in the previous days, we used to use only the correlation regression analysis. Only after 2014, we started using the co-integration analysis. Only after 2018, you started using the ARDL model. Before that, there was no. Even today, if I write about anything using the same good old methodology, so journals will not accept. If I write in the title of my paper, if I write using structural equation model, definitely my paper will be published. So I should know what is the status of the research. Then only it is easy for us to publish it. So therefore, you have to spend a lot of time for the review of literature. Why? What is this review of literature? You all know. Most of you all already have done your PhDs or MPhil, and I think most of you all already published many research articles. You all know review of literature. But here the review of literature, that writing review of literature for the project is different, for the PhD thesis is different, for the report, standard report, it's entirely different. For a research article, it is different. So you cannot write a review of literature as you write in the PhD. So and so did so and so work on this topic, finding. No, don't write. So you directly talk about the gist of the whole previous works. Okay, you have to write about. So if you have studied 20 articles, you have to write about all the 20 articles at a time. So what are the issues the previous works have discussed? What are the data that all the 20 previous works have discussed? Are they used? Whether they have used time series data, cross section data, panel data. So whether they have used primary data, secondary data, ratio scale data. So what data they have used? You discussed about that in the research article. You write about 2 lines for about the issues the previous works have discussed. Most of the previous works have discussed about the process of development in India. So some of the articles have also discussed the increasing inequality in India, particularly among the states. 2 lines. So for explaining these, analyzing these issues, some previous studies have used only secondary data. They have not used primary data. One research gap you got. Most of the previous studies have used only descriptive techniques. No inferential techniques, no proof for their arguments. Okay. This is how you need to write review of literature for the research article. And then methodology they have used, and then agreements and agreements in findings and just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, sorry, there was some disturbance. Okay. Madam, can you see the PPT?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that methodology, techniques, what the previous studies have used, and then what are the agreements and the arguments. Agreements in findings and arguments. For example, let me give an example. Agreements and disagreement, both. For example, let me give a simple example. India is shining. Okay. India is shining. Some people have written, wrote in their article that India is prosperously becoming the world's leader. Okay, 10 articles have written like that. Another 10 articles. Only some of the Indians are becoming rich in India, but India is suffering from a lot of inequality, poverty, unemployment. Totally different kind of arguments. Okay, So therefore, you identify the agreements among the articles, disagreement and different kinds of agreement among the articles. So that based on that, what you are going to prove. Let me give you one more example. Okay. Energy is the most important critical input in development. Energy is the most important critical input in development. Okay, one argument. There are 10 articles agree with that. So there are one more statement let me give you. Energy is not an important input in the development because the cost of energy in the total cost of production is negligible. Therefore, energy is not the important aspect in development. Entirely different. One is saying so important, critical important. One is saying it is not important. So you discussed about and where your paper is going to stand. That's very important. Where your paper is going to stand. Whether it is going with the first argument or the second argument or the in between. So like that, if you understand the previous works in a better way, your argument will be systematic. Whether you are departing from one side of the argument or you are going with the other side of the argument. So that's the major style of the writing the research article. You should have a stand while writing a research article. You should have a strong stand. Yes, I will prove this. Yes, I will disprove this. So this is how systematically you make your things. So review of literature is so important because it leads to identify what has done in previous research work, what has not done. Will be able to identify the research gap. So once you came to know that what has done, what has not done, you will find your gap. And then you can easily state out the gaps, and then at the end you can write about what the present work is going to do. So this is how the review of literature is the most important thing for writing the research article. So without doing review of literatures, you cannot write introduction, you cannot talk about the methodology, you cannot talk about the data, you cannot talk about how to interpret and how to analyze, how to conclude, how to write the abstract. Nothing can be possible without reading, without going with the review of literature. So review of literature is so important. Then come down to methodology. Methodology, as I already told, particularly in social sciences, we largely follow the common methodology. In science, as they follow the scientific way of doing research. So like in social sciences, excluding this literature, most of us will follow these methodologies: descriptive, analytical, inductive, deductive, econometric. So these kind of the methodologies that we follow. So what are the important things in the methodology? As I told, we have to be very careful about the data that what we are using. Data in the sense, the scale of data is very important. In a research article, they always see whether you have taken data from where, that is not important, but how you have, what you have understand, how you have understand the data. The scale of the data is important because for selecting any tools and techniques, understanding the scale of the data is important. So data, nominal, whether it is a nominal data, ordinal data, interval data, or it is a ratio scale data. We have to know about all these things. So without understanding the scale of the data, you cannot choose a proper, appropriate tool or technique for that data. And then the form of data, meaning how you are presenting your data. That is, are you presenting the time using the time series data, cross-section data, pooled data? Because techniques are different for cross-section, time series, and pooled data. For example, for the time series, we go with stationarity test and co-integration ARDA. Whereas in the panel, we go by dynamic models, dynamic panel models, fixed effect model, random effect model. So if the data is changed, we use the use of techniques is also changed. So therefore, you need to understand the form of the data. And then sources and origin of data. That's also important. You have to give the source for the data. Are you using the primary data? If the primary data, how you have collected? What is the sample size? What is the sampling method? And how we have gathered those data? Through interview or questionnaire, or how you have collected? If it is secondary sources, from where you have collected, right? So that's the very, very important thing. And the period of and place. So from what period? Why I'm mentioning here the period is so important, because sir, I'm using data from 2001 to 2020. Why it is 2001 to 2020? Why it is not 2011 to 2022? You have to give the specific reason why you have considering certain period for this study. That is very, very important. And then if you're using any techniques, what techniques that you're using? Parametric, non-parametric techniques, or any specific model that you are using in your paper, that also be mentioned in the research methodology of that paper, particular that paper. Okay. And when it comes to the use of techniques, so there are two levels of analysis. One is the descriptive analysis, another one is inferential analysis.
Sir, a slide is not moving, sir.
What, madam?
Slide is not moving.
Just a minute. I'm going for that. Okay. Yeah. Now you can see.
Yes, sir. Can you show the previous slide, sir? What methodology?
Yes. And now descriptive. Two types of empirical analysis. Am I right, madam? Rajesh Sri, madam.
Yes, sir. Can you show
Yes.
the previous slide, sir? 1 minute about methodology.
Previous slide, sir, please.
Previous slide.
Yeah, this one, methodology. Can you see this methodology?
No, sir.
No?
So we
No,
are
sir.
Now
in
it is
eighth
next
slide. Can
slide.
you go to 7th slide, sir?
Now, can you see?
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh my God.
You
Previous
directly
one you
click
have
on
to
the
go, sir.
slide, sir. Come to
Sir,
left
just,
side and click on the slide number 7, sir.
Sir, just press the upward arrow button.
Yeah, that one. Okay, let me come back and take.
Click on the 7th one, sir.
Yeah, now you can see.
No, sir, same way.
Sabina,
No, sir, same it is
No,
retained.
sir. No.
It has not moved to the previous one.
Come down, sir. Come on to the slide.
okay.
Click here, sir. From the current slide, click it, sir. No problem.
Is it coming now?
No, sir.
No,
Why?
same slide is retained, not the previous one.
Okay. Just a minute. I once again share. I go back and share it.
No, sir, if you go to slideshow from beginning, you can just press and
Yeah. That's what I'm doing.
Click on the beginning, sir. From beginning.
Okay.
It has gone to the next one.
Yeah, can you see this?
This is, yeah, I think 8th slide, sir.
8th slide, sir. You need to go
Yeah.
to 7th.
Yeah. Now?
Yeah, right.
Yes, yes, sir.
Madam, Rajashree, madam.
Sir, yes, sir.
It's
Thank
okay.
you, sir.
Yeah. So this is methodology, brief. What are the things to be covered in the methodology? That's what I have. I have already shared this PPT with sir. You can download from there. You can ask Lingappa Nanjunda Swami sir. He will give you.
It's
He
okay,
will
sir.
share with you. Okay. And there are two levels of analysis. I call them as two levels: a descriptive analysis and inferential analysis. What the journals expect, they expect to use the analytical way of analyzing the things. That is, the inferential statistics needs to be used. Because while writing any research article, you are trying to prove or disprove something. When you try to prove or disprove something, you have to test your data, or you have to test your hypothesis, then you have to make the argument. For example, if you write between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, poverty is high in Karnataka compared to Tamil Nadu. How do you prove that? You have to prove and tell, right? Compared to India, Karnataka and Kerala, human development process is very high in Kerala compared to Karnataka. How can you say? So for telling all those things, we have to test and tell. So if you want to test and tell, then you have to use only analytical techniques like inferential techniques, which also includes econometric modelings. So therefore, the descriptive statistics or the level of descriptive analysis will explain only the status of the phenomena. So what is what? But it will not help you to make the argument. If you want to make the argument, you have to go for the inferential statistics. So therefore, instead of you use both descriptive techniques as well as the inferential techniques. But it is always better to go with the inferential techniques. So what are the techniques comes under the descriptive? Mean, deviation, correlation, index, simple techniques. Whereas in the analytical or the inferential techniques, statistics, we have mean difference, relations, impacts, processes, associations, distributions, and it also includes econometric analysis. So when it comes to econometric analysis, the ocean is the limit. Okay. Then while, as I already told you, you have to be very careful about what data that you are using and how many variables that you are using. Assume that if you are using, I think yesterday or previous classes, someone have covered these topics, descriptive and inferential statistics.
Yes,
Sabira?
ಹೇಳಿ sir, ಹೇಳಿ.
ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಕವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಈ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸಿಯಲ್ ಈ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ಸ್
Sir, Lancy sir had covered a few
on these
his
things.
session
Then I
on
skipped this
inferential
part.
and descriptive.
Yeah, then I skipped this part. So
But
these are the
just
techniques.
show the slides, sir.
Huh?
Just present the slides, sir.
Yeah. So this is the univariate procedures. If you know the data, what data that you are using, nominal, ordinal, or scale data, then it is easy for you to select the techniques. You can go with the descriptive techniques or you can go with the inferential techniques. And then this is the bivariate analysis. When you have two variables, you can go with these kind of the techniques. And then if you are using the more than two variables, generally we have two different types. Multivariate analysis, one is interdependence methods, another one is the dependence method. So in the dependence analysis, we have multiple regression, MANOVA, canonical correlations, and all the econometric models like ARCH, GARCH, VAR, co-integration, ARDL models, everything we have. Whereas in the analysis of interdependence, we go with cluster analysis, factor analysis, structural equation modeling. So these are the techniques we have. So based on the data and based on the necessity, appropriativeness, you have to choose appropriate techniques. So that is the only intention of showing these things. And then since you are writing your this one research article for a good journal, you have to be very careful about the distribution of the data, what data that you are using and what is the distribution, because you are testing and proving. When you are testing and proving, you should know the theoretical properties behind in what background that you are testing your hypothesis. So there are four theoretical distribution, most properly known distributions. Normal distribution, there are no tests for that. Z-T distribution, it is a parametric test and it's a parametric distribution, and we always use the T or Z test only for the mean comparison. You take it from me and you can challenge me. So we use Z-T test only for the mean comparison, only for the mean comparison, nothing else. And F distribution, it is only for the variance. It is only for the variance. Wherever you want to prove the difference in variance, the difference in variances, so you have to use F distribution, and it's also a parametric test. And the last one is the chi-square distribution. Wherever you use non-parametric data, that is nominal data, nominal kind of data, so it is distribution-free test, non-parametric test. So that's why you call it as chi-square distribution. And then this is the sample size. And if you are using the primary data, how we have got that data, you should know. And for that, this is the formula that we use. That is Z square into P into 1 minus P whole divided by E square. Here the Z is the distribution and the P is the population proportion and E is the margin of error part in, because whenever you collect the primary data, you have to have sufficiency of data, and sufficiency of data as well as you have to have the confidence when you are making the argument. So at the point, always we go with 95% of the confidence, 95% of the confidence and 5% of margin of error. With that confidence and margin of error, with the population proportion, what is the sample size? Is it 400? It is 900? Is it 20 or 30? If 30, why? If 100, why? If 200, why? Simply it is not 200. Why it is 200? Because of the confidence, because of the error, I am selecting this much of samples. That should be the answer. So to write like that, you have to use this formula for fixing the sample size. So if time permits, at the end I will show in Excel sheet how we can calculate this sample size, if anybody interested. And then it is results and interpretation. So once you got the data and once you have designed your methodology and once you have designed your statistical techniques, what techniques can be used, and then nowadays we have plenty of softwares. You can use softwares and get the results. And once you got the results, how you can interpret. So there are many ways of doing the interpretation. Some of the major styles of interpretation that I am presenting here. So the first three explains the styles. Okay, so you can write in the form of statements. Your results can be written in the form of statements, or your results can be written in the form of illustrations or reasoning, or you can logically present your results. And there should be systematic and sequencing of arguments. What has to come first, what has to come next. As much as possible, let it be very simple, let it be meaningful and understand by the readers. Okay. So what are the different methods of explanations? One is status explanation. India is a developing country. Status. In India, the per capita income is 1,57,000. The poverty in India is 23%. So you write about the status. And then you write about the difference. South Indian states are contributing more to the central government than North Indian states. Difference. But you have to prove, right? The South Indian states are contributing more to the central government than the northern states. Okay, that's the difference. You are talking about the difference. When you are talking about the difference, you have to give the reasons for that difference. And you have to prove that difference. Yes, there is significant difference. You need to prove. Otherwise, people will question, how can you claim that southern states contributing more? So therefore, you have to give the justification. And then we can talk about the relations. Relations meaning you can talk about the level of income and spending on education, health, consumption, and you can talk about the relationship of different types, the international trade and the Indian industrial development. Talk about that. You can talk about the industrial development and agricultural development. You talk about the energy usage and development. So wherever you are going to talk about the relations, you talk about the relations, but you have to give the reasons for that relations, and you have to prove the relations. And it's a very simple techniques. As you all know, we have Carl Pearson correlation test, and you also know the rank test. As much as possible, you compute that correlations, and you also test that correlation coefficient. The correlation coefficient is the mean relationship. If you get 0.8, it is the mean relationship of the set of the observations, set of the paired observations. It is not the relationship of the one set, it is set of observations. So if you have 20 sets of observation, it is the mean relationship of all the 20 observations. So you have to test that mean relations, and by using t-test, and then go to the impact and regression analysis. What is the impact of income on consumption expenditure? What is the impact of inflation on the employment? What is the impact of increasing unemployment in India on the level of poverty? What is the impact of increasing use of fertilizers on the quality of food? What is the impact of increasing foreign national participation in the industrial sector, in the business sector, on the employment? So like that, you can make the impact analysis. But once you have done the impact analysis, well, there is a simple regression, multiple regression, ANAVA, ANCAVA, MANAVA, MANCAVA, ANMANCAVA, MANMANCAVA, or the ARCH model, GARCH model, ARDL model, co-integration model, or anything. You have to prove, yes, my argument is true. That's very, very important. And then you can go with associations and the implication kind of things. So, but these are the styles of writing: status explanation, difference explanation, relation explanations, impact analysis, association analysis, and wherever it is possible, give the proof. And what are your, as I already mentioned, when you have conducted the review of literature, you have set of arguments of one kind and the set of arguments on another kind. Arguments with agreements, arguments with disagreement, where your argument is standing. So from the previous works, you state whether you go with first set of the arguments or the second set of the arguments, or the agreements or the disagreements. Where do you stand? So at last, the conclusion of your article. So for the conclusion of your article, it is also very, very important how to conclude. You cannot write again the whole paper. No. Only just in 6 to 8 lines of the sentence, you have to conclude your paper. The very first line should state what you have done in that article. So it is the objective that what your paper has discussed, examined, or estimated, or analyzed, or studied. What the research article has done. That has to be written in the first line. And then 2 or 3 major findings. What you have proved, what you have not proved. Okay, what you have identified. So that has to come there. And then challenges are the problems in that, in the subject matter. And then suggestions. And if you are generous about, write about the limitations of your paper, and you also write about what are the future research gaps or the scopes for the researchers. And again, 1 line concluding remarks. So except this limitation and future research, your conclusion part looks like your abstract. You can go and see the abstract. Let me show you. Yes, look at here. Major findings, challenges, suggestions, 1 line concluding remarks. This comes in the abstract. So meaning your conclusion can be taken to your abstract while writing your abstract. So that is what I mean. Yes. So that is conclusion of your article. And then the only remaining things is giving reference. How do you give reference? Reference in the sense, while giving reference, there are many styles. You can follow APA style, MLA style, Chicago style, Harvard style, Mandya style. There are many styles of giving references. There are no single, and you cannot permit it to give reference as you wish. No, that's not possible. Impossible. Each of the article expects the reference has to be like this. For example, your EPWO expects its own style, and majority of the referred journals, if you are writing the articles in social sciences, they expect to write only in the APA style. If you are writing an article in for a language journals or the literature journals, they expect MLA, Modern Language Association style. The first one is American Psychological Association style, Chicago style. Scientific papers like in sciences, you have to write in Chicago style. So therefore, you have to follow a specific style for giving the references. That is one important thing. The second important thing, how you write the reference. Are you going to write the reference on your own? Yes, this is Prema Kumara within bracket 2022, comma, full stop, title of the article, major issues in Indian economy, close the bracket, were published. No, if you follow that manual style, you will end up with problem. So therefore, don't write on your own. You use some inbuilt softwares. Like when you are Microsoft, you have inbuilt software. For example, in Microsoft itself, the Word, there is one submenu known as reference. If you go to that reference, there you can directly insert the reference so that the reference will come along with your main body. You can insert the reference will come with the main body of your paper, so that there is no chance of missing the reference. Sometimes you are given the body of the articles, but the reference will not come. You are mentioning Nagaraj in the body of the text, but the reference to the Nagaraj will not come. So that should not happen. So if you have inserted that references by using the inbuilt software like Microsoft in the Word, definitely that will not go anywhere. And for giving reference for book is different. Book section, that is edited book, or edited article, that's separate. Journal article, it is separate style. Web source, we have different style. Films, newspaper, for each and everything, we have different styles of giving references. So therefore, you have to follow. If a reference is not in style and proper, journals will never accept your paper. Giving reference is very, very important. Even for today, most of the people don't know how to give the reference. And this is APA style, how it comes. Just I'm given the example. And if you are writing and you are presenting tables, let the tables like this. The table should contain table number, like table number 1, and then title, subtitle, within the bracket, in what measurement unit. So is it in rupees, in quintal, in tons, or in millions, in billions, in liters, in quarters? Okay. And are you presenting a simple or the cross section table or the result table? So whatever the table, don't forget to put it in auto fit, alignment and positioning. For example, if you are writing the headings, that should be in center. If you are writing the words, that should be left aligned. If you are writing the number within the table, that should be right center, right aligned. So for everything there is a, just by reading your table, a scientific journal can reject your article. The subject matter may be very good. The issues may be very good. The analysis is very good. But the table, what you are presented in your article may not be followed the rules. So as I am part of the many editorial board, we reject articles just because of the table. They don't know how to present the table in the article. So the positioning of the table is very, very important. And also the sources for the table. And then if your graph, what graph that you are presenting, graph number, let it be very simple. Let me stop at this point. Till now, I have covered the major outlines in the research article. I have not gone for how to write. Just I have covered what are the important components of a research article. If you have any doubts, you can ask 1 or 2 questions so that we can end this session. And as I have told, I have to give the break of half an hour, and then we can join together. Then again, yes.